This section is on the conduct of paper pull tabs. Please watch this introduction video, and when it's over with, you'll be answering a few questions before moving on. Before we start talking about paper pull tabs or even lawful gambling, it's important that you understand what gambling means. And there are three elements that have to be there for some activity to be considered gambling. First one is consideration. That means the player has to give something of value to participate. That may mean that they have to pay some money to participate. Maybe they have to buy something in order to participate. If so, there's consideration, and that's the first element. The second element is chance. That means that the winner is determined by chance. It's not determined by who can bowl the best or who can win a football game or who pays the most money to purchase an item. No, it's determined by chance. And the third element is a prize, meaning that the winner has to get something of value. So if there's consideration, chance, and prize, it's gambling. If there's not any one of those three items, if any one of those three items is missing, then it's not gambling. But not all gambling is illegal. There's some gambling that is allowed, but the way the law is written such that it says that all gambling is illegal unless it's specifically allowed by law. So that means if you're doing an activity, it has the three elements of gambling: consideration, chance, and prize, then it's going to be illegal unless the law specifically allows it. And some of the things that the law specifically allows are certain card games, private social betting, electronic pull tabs, electronic bingo, sports tip boards, lottery, horse racing, and so on. But items that are not allowed are slot machines, poker runs, Vegas games, or casino nights. And if you have a question about whether an activity is legal or illegal, we ask you to contact the Department of Public Safety. Their number is listed here, and they're the ones who would come arrest you if you were doing illegal activity. The Gambling Control Board doesn't do that. We would issue your organization a citation or a suspension, but we don't handle the criminal part of it. That would be public safety. So if it's illegal gambling, potentially, then you'd want to contact them. So now I'm going to go through 4 different situations, and I'd like you to guess whether you think that activity is legal. The first one is sign at Joe's Bar advertising a poker game every Friday night in the back room. Is that legal? And the answer is no, it's not. Poker game is considered a game of chance. There'd be consideration because the people would be placing wagers on each hand, placing bets, and then the prize is whoever would win the pot for that game. So consideration, chance, and prize, so that activity would not be legal. How about this situation? This is a poker game at your house with your old college buddies. Is it legal? And in this case, the answer is yes, it is legal. Now it's the same type of poker game, consideration, chance, and prize. But if you remember earlier, I said that private social betting is specifically allowed under the law as a legal activity. And private social betting means that it's not an advertised activity. It's not organized. There's nobody taking a cut of the profits for sponsoring it. This is just a game between you and your friends at your house. That's private social betting, and that's legal. Okay, the next one, bar patrons shaking dice. The answer to this one is that it depends. If it's the bar patrons shaking among themselves for food or beverages, then it's legal. That's specifically allowed under the law. That would mean, like the guys sitting around shaking dice to see who's going to pay for the next round, or in the morning who's going to pay for the breakfast or something like that. That would be legal. But if there's $150 in the pot and everybody is throwing in $10 a turn, that would be illegal. So with shaking dice, the customers shaking among themselves for food or beverages is allowed, otherwise it's not. And the last one I've got is the McDonald's Monopoly game. Is that legal? Yes, it is. And Quite frankly, if it was illegal, we'd be pretty poor enforcement of gambling because they have this virtually every year. But the reason it's legal is because there's no consideration. And you might say, well, they say that if you buy a large drink or a large French fry, then you get a McDonald's game piece or a Monopoly game piece. But also, you'll notice that they always have to say that you can get one for free on request. So if you go into a McDonald's during the Monopoly game and you say, I'd like a game piece for the Monopoly game, they'll need to give it to you. If they say, no, you have to buy something first, then there's consideration. And there's obviously a chance because whatever property you might open up, that would be the chance. And then, of course, there's prizes like you would win free food or sometimes even big prizes. But the Monopoly game is legal because there's no consideration. So we've talked about different things like private social betting and horse racing and so on that are specifically allowed by the law as legal, and also specifically allowed is called charitable gambling or lawful gambling. And there are 5 different forms of legal charitable gambling in Minnesota. There's paper and electronic pull tabs, tip boards, paddle wheels, bingo, and that includes the paper bingo, hard card, and electronic bingo, and raffles. Those are the 5 forms of lawful gambling that you can conduct if you have the proper licenses and permits. We're going to go through all of the different forms of charitable gambling, the different games, but we're going to spend most of our time on pull tabs, paper pull tabs and electronic pull tabs. And you can see from this pie chart that paper pull tabs makes up the vast majority. It looks like about 2/3 of the receipts for charitable gambling come from paper pull tabs. So we'll spend the most time on that. Then the red there for electronic games, nearly all of that is electronic pull tabs. Electronic pull tabs and paper pull tabs are the same in many ways, but of course they have a lot of differences too. So we'll talk about them separately. And then paper bingo, paddle wheel, raffles, and tip boards, those are pretty small slivers of activity as far as gross receipts. So we won't spend as much time on them because not everybody conducts those games. But you'll have reference materials like your gambling manual and so on where you can learn more about those activities. You'll see that the fiscal year 2019 receipts were up 16.6% over fiscal year 2018. That was quite an increase. And the fact is that up through March of this past year, we were going to have another 15 to 20% increase in receipts over fiscal year 2019. But as it turns out with this COVID-19 now, we did well for the first part of March, but then hasn't been any activity in April or just very minimal activity in April and also in May as well, and hopefully in June now things have started back up and we can try to get things a little more back to normal. Please return now to the seminar course itself to continue on with the conduct of pull tabs section.